and welcome back to my channel. So today I have another Sims 4 speed build for you, and this one is actually another shell challenge. I've been like so into those lately, and this one is actually a flower shell made by Papaccio, who is a streamer over on Twitch, and I highly recommend checking out his stream, and I will link it down below if you would like to go check it out. His builds are so detailed and amazing. But when I saw this shell challenge, part of the thing is you can't have like the 3 flowers touching. They have to be separate, but they could be stacked on top of each other. But when I saw it, I immediately thought of a floating fairy village, and like I couldn't get it out of my head, so like I had to do it. And so you can see here I am struggling so hard to make that work. I was thinking maybe it'd be kind of like a treehouse situation, like so they're all connected, but I actually end up just leaving them floating. And so that's kind of the caveat with this, is your sim will need to be able to teleport in order to actually get to any of these spaces. And I figured that would be okay since most of my builds are basically always like usable and like play tested and all of that kind of good stuff. But basically your sims can teleport if, I forgot what skill. I think it's the wellness skill, and it may be when you max it out, but your sims then are able just to do that. So you can easily get your sim like the ability to like be able to get to all these spaces. But the idea of a floating fairy village was just so cute that I just couldn't like not do it. And what I ended up doing when I was on stream doing this, I decided that I wanted it to be like glowing and just like super magical and like flowers everywhere. So I sized up all of those flowers like so large, and I'm actually really impressed with the way they came out. I'm really shocked that they look that good sized up. Sometimes when you size up objects, they look terrible, to be honest, but those sized up really well. And so I ended up going through debug and all the items that I could find in the game that gave off any sort of light and were kind of glowing. So you can see I have plants from like Strangerville. I have the crystals from Realm of Magic. Like I've got all kinds of stuff. I even used, I think it's the Spa Day wallpaper and flooring, the glowing ones. I've never used that before, but it was so perfect in this build. Y'all, I am so excited about this. Like I think it turned out so well, and I wanted there to be this like glowing like pond underneath the houses, like, and so your sims could actually swim in that if they wanted to, if they could actually get to it. I'm not gonna lie, I put plants all the way around it. Like I don't even know if your sim can actually get to it. I didn't actually play test that part, but I'm sure you could move some stuff around and they'd be able to get to it. But I just wanted to have this really magical forest vibe, and I ended up doing this in Henford on Bagley, and it is the lot that has the, I think it's the, what is it, the National Forest or the forest on it. And I made this a residential lot, I believe, when I uploaded it on the gallery. But I do end up using a lot of Realm of Magic here because it honestly just fits so well. Like those colors in those windows like just work so perfectly. And I ended up having the ability to have 4 sims on this lot. So there are like 4 little like apartments basically. And I actually ended up creating 4 fairies to match like the aesthetic of each of the apartments. So each apartment has its own like personality, and I think it's so cute. When you watch the screenshots at the end of this video, let me know which of the fairies is your favorite and like which of like their aesthetics you like the most, out of curiosity. Like I have a favorite, but you know, it's just, I think it just turned out so well. So we end up actually having a blue, pink, and purple fairy. So those make a lot of sense. And then I ended up doing one of the apartments as like a black, white, and red. And it is beautiful. Like I'm surprised. I used a lot of the vampire stuff in that one, but I think it turned out really well. And we did have that like fairy outfit that had like black and red in it, so I think it worked out really well for those sims. I don't think I put those sims on the gallery, but let me know if you want me to put them on the gallery, then I can do that if you would like to use them to actually play on this lot. But anyways, I'm basically just trying to figure out exactly what I want this to look like. I ended up using the glowing wallpaper and floor in the pool as well, and in case you were not aware, you can actually change the wallpaper and floor in the pool, and so it gave it this like cool glowing effect. And I ended up using that like red swatch like in the water, like like, because you can change the color of the water and everything. And I ended up putting a bunch of the like little bubble maker things on the bottom of the pool and just adding a bunch of stuff under there because I just really wanted this to be super lush. I ended up adding a bunch of fountains in there as well. And then you can see I even put some like floating candles. And then I found these little like glowing orbs, I think from Realm of Magic, that I end up taking and suspending in the air everywhere. But I do that like at the very, very end of the build. But you can see I'm playtesting it to see which one of the fountains like I like. I can never remember for some reason what each of the type of fountains does, if that makes sense. Like we have several different types and then each of those have several different sizes. So I always have to test it to see which one I actually want. But I think this just was so pretty and I think it's super unique. And I apologize again that like your sim will have to teleport in order to use this build, but honestly I think it was worth it and I just really wanted to do something really unique and fun. And you can see that little like cluster of flowers that I'm kind of putting everywhere. I forgot where that's from, but I found that like in debug and that is one of the coolest items, I swear. It is so pretty and it sizes up so well. I was like, where did you come from? Like I talked about it so much on stream. I was like, has anybody ever seen this before? And what I ended up doing was I kind of did the exterior on stream and then I did the interior on my own. I was hoping to have been able to stream all of it, but the shell was due because I was kind of running late on actually finishing it, so I kind of had to do that on my own. But regardless, it's all the footage is here. So you'll be able to see the whole entire process that I go through. And I'm not gonna lie, some of the spaces are very small. And like, so I struggled a little bit later on and I'll talk a little bit about that. Like when we actually get to that footage of me just like having a lot of problems. I think I did actually like pause the recording so you're not going to see like all of my struggle. And I do end up putting like that random mailbox on the corner of the lot. Honestly, I kind of wish I didn't have to use a mailbox, but since I wanted this to be residential, I had to. So, I mean, there's one just over in the corner that your sim should be able to get to and all that kind of good stuff. Now, I guess it would be interesting, like, if you try to have, like, sims come over, because they wouldn't really be able to get to your home, which I didn't think about until literally just now, but that's kind of funny. And also on that note, if you come up with any like cool ideas that you want me to see me do on the channel, be sure to leave me a comment down below. I would love to read through them. And sorry, that was a total random aside, but like I'm thinking about like this weird build that I'm doing, and like if there's things that you think of that might be cool, you know, definitely let me know. And at this point, I actually split, this was the biggest flower in the shell, and so I ended up kind of splitting it in half into two different apartments. And this is the point at which I started thinking, you know what, maybe I should do each one a different color. And then I ended up, they were going to be like very matching, you could see there at the beginning, but I ended up just kind of doing them all separately, so they actually all have different layouts and different like furniture and all that kind of good stuff. And so this one I ended up doing a lot of blue, so there is a little bit of purple in the I was going to say the living space, that's the bedroom, oh my goodness. And I have, I think, purple and cabinetry in the kitchen, but don't worry, the purple apartment is purple, like you'll know it's purple. So this one is blue, it's the majority blue, so I tried to focus on that when I was actually picking out all the furnishings for this place. And I promise you can't actually get to everything. I will say this was uploaded on the gallery a little while ago when the shell was due, and I hadn't been able to play test it yet. So there are a few things that aren't going to work like perfectly, but I'll try to point those out when we get there, but nothing like detrimental. Your sim can actually do everything they need to be able to do, but there's just like, I think there's just like a small piece that needs to be dealt with in the pink apartments that isn't like, isn't quite right, which I didn't realize actually that I was going to wait to like talk about this till we got that apartment, but I guess I'm going to go ahead and talk about it now. There's a small dining table that I use in the pink apartment, and I didn't realize that if you put something in the center, that like then you really can't use the table, which I find really weird because I ended up putting a fruit basket on the table in the pink apartment, and like the sim couldn't use the table, or at least they couldn't set anything on the table, so it's basically useless, which I thought was kind of interesting. So you might have to get rid of it or remove that fruit bowl, but just an FYI. But all the bathrooms worked perfectly fine as well, which, trust me, when you see how they came out is honestly a little bit surprising because, oh my goodness, like I really like I had to dig deep, like, to be able to actually figure out how to fit everything in there. And of course, when you get to the higher floors, the camera is a little bit weird. So also warning, if you do download this and want to use it, like, the camera just kind of moves really quickly the higher up you go. I know I'm really selling this and making you want to download it, but I just thought I would be honest, if you do want to download it, like, those are things that you might have to deal with. And as usual, if you want to download it, it's on the Sims 4 gallery under my ID, Spice and Sprinkles, and you can kind of use it however you want to. You can easily add in stairs if you want to use stairs to actually be able to get to all those places, so that your sim doesn't have to be able to teleport. But like I said, that is an in-game mechanic that your sim can do. And so either you can just get them to get their wellness skill up, or you can just cheat it. And off the top of my head, I don't remember what the cheat code is for that, but you can easily just like Google that and find what it is and set it to like the max. And like I said, I don't remember if you actually have to max out the wellness skill. If you know, let me know in the comments, because honestly, I can't remember. And one of the like mods that I always have installed like has the ability for Sims to do that, so I actually don't remember. And I also just like hit my desk, so if you heard that, that's what that was, so I apologize. I try not to move around too much when I'm talking during my speed build so that I don't like hit the desk or the mic or anything like that, but I have been known to like hit the mic while I'm streaming. Like I get too animated and I accidentally hit it. But anyways, that again, like I feel like I'm all over the place and just like talking about like random things. But anyways, I just really wanted this to be such a cute little apartment, and I end up putting a little bit of clutter in there. I tried not to clutter too much in all of these spaces because they're so small. I wanted to make sure that you could actually use it. And I'm not gonna lie, trying to fit in the bathroom in this space was a little bit difficult, like getting it to work properly, but I am really happy with the way it turned out. And so I think there's only 2 of the apartments that have like a dedicated like seating dining space, but when you only have like 1 or 2 Sims, like I don't feel like it's super necessary to actually have a dedicated dining space, if that makes sense, because they can easily sit on the bed or the couch or something like that to eat. But this one does have a dining space, and so does the black and white and red one. So I don't know, I need to call it like black and white or something. I feel like calling it all by all 3 colors is like really excessive for a name of an apartment. But over here I end up making like a tiny little like foyer area and then having the bathroom in here. I don't think any of them have a shower tub combo. So some of them have bathtubs and some of them have showers. I actually want to say that, oh my goodness, I think all of them have bathtubs except for one of them. I think the blue one might be the only one that has a shower. That's kind of funny. But this is the fruit bowl that I was talking about earlier that you may have to move if you download it. So just a warning that you may have to deal with that. But I think this is really cute. And just FYI, you can cook on a corner counter like this. So that's why I didn't really clutter it. I wanted you to be able to make sure your sim could get to that counter. But they can cook on that and that's not an issue. And also in one of the other apartments, I use like the flat top stove, and your sim can actually prepare food on top of that as well. So you don't have to worry about cooking in there either. Like I said, this was play tested afterwards, but yeah, I think it's basically just that fruit bowl that kind of caused an issue. And then I think there's like a mirror in the black and white one that you might have to move that caused a little bit of an issue. Of course, that's if you actually want to have 2 Sims in there, but you know, that's totally up to you. But like I said, I don't know what it was when I saw this shell that just spoke to me and was like, you need to do like a fairy village. Like that's what has to happen. Like, and like I said, I don't know why. And you can see I'm trying to put like a little table in here. And honestly, I forgot how big all of the end tables are in this game. Like, oh my goodness. Like it took me a little while to find something that would actually work really well. And I did swap this out and I made this like a little more whimsical, if that makes sense, instead of having the more like, to me, like regal look of the bed we had prior to this. And I don't know, I think I've only used this bed swatch like once, but I loved it so much in this apartment. And I will say, like, I tried to keep them like fairly pastel in color, like all of them, of course, except for the black and white one. That one's definitely a little bit different. And I will say, I think I decided to do the black and white when we get to the bathroom, but I'll talk a little bit about that when I get there. I feel like I keep getting like ahead of myself, like big time. But I ended up using that really cute moon lamp here, which I thought was really cute because it kind of went with the window. And I guess in the blue one, I used the moon like mirror as well, which I thought was really adorable. And so this one, originally I thought I was going to split into 2 different apartments, but I opted just to do one, and making it just a little bit bigger for this sim. And so I think this is the most spacious apartment, which is funny because no, it does have a dining space. I was about to say, because it doesn't have a dining space, but it does. It actually has like bar stools in the kitchen, which I think works out really well. And I don't know what it was that just drew me to using, like, starting with the black and white, but I think it came out really nicely. And especially since this is supposed to be like fairy, like magic, like I could see like using the stuff from the vampire pack and stuff like that, although vampires aren't magic, but you know what I mean, like these are all occult sims. So I figured they kind of matched. And so bear with me, I did something kind of interesting here with platforms. I don't know why I decided to do this, but it looked so cool. I was so happy with it. And your sim can get to that bathtub and use it properly. I was a little bit worried when I built it, but it ended up looking so neat in this space. I feel like I've been getting into platforms a little bit more and trying to like use them and like do creative things with them. Like I used them in a recent build in that apartment, like that funky apartment that I did recently. I used a bunch of them in there, and I used them again actually in the purple apartment as well. I'll talk about that too and like why I ended up using it, because I was really struggling with room and it just made it a lot easier. And now after having that epiphany that I could use a platform in that space that I'll talk about in a little bit, like I feel like I want to use that like a lot more, if that makes sense. And then using those like wedding flowers, I don't know, it just looks so pretty. I don't know why I like just liked it so much. And I will say in this bedroom, so the mirror that I was talking about that kind of caused an issue when I was taking screenshots, you probably just have to get rid of it, and you could get one that's just attached to the wall instead of like a standing one. But your sim can get to the left side of the bed, but they just couldn't get to the right, and I think it's because of the mirror, so you can easily get rid of it. So even with this dresser here, your sim could still get to that side of the bed. So there's something with the mirror that was causing a little bit of an issue, so you can easily get rid of that if you would like to. And I just really liked the way this came out. Just like I used a bunch of the wedding flowers too. I used them there in the in the bedroom, and I made this little like nook area, like this little reading nook, and I like that so much. And I realized that I did not place a computer on this lot, which is kind of like not typical for me, but I think you could easily add one to like all the different dining spaces that we included here. So your sims should be fine if you want to add that. And this is probably the kitchen that makes the most sense in this whole build. I'm not gonna lie. I think this came out so well, to be honest. Like I feel like I want to use this kitchen setup like in tiny builds like more often. And I would consider probably this apartment to be like a tiny apartment. I actually don't know what the tile count would be on it, but it may be like not technically the tiny and micro, but maybe it's just like a small home. I'm not actually sure. If you've been watching me, you know I'm not great with small spaces. Like I always end up making the builds bigger. So I need to challenge myself, I think, to do tiny builds more often. But this actually has like a full, really nice living room space as well. I think each of them have a TV, so there is entertainment in all of the different apartments. So your sims should be good there. And then I ended up, like I said, I used the vampire stuff, and I used that like super huge chair. I don't really use that very often because it's just so big, but I thought it looked so cool in this space. And then up here we actually do the purple, and I use that really cool shag carpet and that really pretty purple like wallpaper. And I'm not gonna lie, this one was difficult. You can see it's first of all, it's pretty small, but it's also just very oddly shaped. But it worked out really well, which honestly, like I'm very surprised, to be honest. And I think I end up actually having to move the door from the door to the bathroom. I moved it into the bedroom space, and so that caused some issues with the bed, but don't worry, we figured it out and it's totally fine. And the kitchen, I think this was the hardest kitchen for me. I'm not gonna lie, especially with the windows I have in there, and I did not want to move the windows. So that became a little bit of an issue. And I did make this kind of a really small living space, and I did use like 2 chairs instead of this couch, which I'm gonna swap out in a little bit. I can't remember exactly at what point I swap it out, and I figure out I just need a little more space there. And so you have space for 2 Sims to sit and hang out, and which is, I think, fine considering I have a single bed in this apartment. I think this is the only one with a single bed. Again, since it is a smaller apartment, I guess that kind of makes sense. And since I wanted all of these spaces to actually be closed off dedicated spaces versus like a studio or something, I think that caused a little bit of an issue as well, but I really like what I ended up with. And then in this space, I do use a bathtub, and which I think is funny again because I feel like a shower's smaller, but I use a bathtub like everywhere, which I thought was kind of funny. And then just creating just basically purple everywhere, anywhere I could, it was there. And I found that purple like wall decal that was so cute. I loved it so much. And I can't remember, we'll see how much I actually cut out of this kitchen because it was such a struggle. And it's so funny to me because when you look at it, it doesn't look that small, but the second you actually put in a counter, it becomes really small, if that makes sense. And like I probably could have left it like the way it is, but I didn't like it very much, so I kind of did a lot of things. I tried to do things with a lot of those like triangle pieces of that counter, and like trying to do different like funky things to make this work. But I do think it worked out really well given how much I struggled with it. And I do end up actually having a separate stove and oven, I believe that's what I ended up doing. And I think I used the mini fridge in here as well. You can see I was trying to put in a dining table and like trying to make that work, but it wasn't really happening. It's just like this build said, no, that's not going to work. And I was trying to avoid putting cabinetry right in front of the window, like, because I just didn't want that to happen. I do think we have a little bit of clipping in that window there, but I figured that's okay. And it's funny. I'm going to say this again. I said this in a speed build that I just recorded earlier today, but my bird is screaming again. So if you hear her, she's just like, I don't know, she's having a day today. She just, so I guess there's gonna be like 2 speed builds where you might be able to hear her like talking to you. Well, I'm gonna say talking, but really it's just screaming. Just because I think she can hear me and she's like, okay, it's time to come downstairs. Like, come give me a treat or something. I feel like that's just like what she's got going on right now. But I did end up, this is where I put the that platform that I was talking about. So I ended up drawing it in the back there and raising it up a little bit so that it was kind of like exactly at the same level as the bed. And I did move those windows up like 1 notch, so they don't technically match the height of all the other ones, but it's on the back of the build, so I figured it's okay considering I was trying to make this tiny itty bitty space work. And so I did actually put a lot of clutter in here, and your sim can actually use everything in here. They can lay down, they can use the mirror, but interesting, when I had the sim use the mirror, they actually sat on the bed when they used it, like to freshen up, which I thought was kind of interesting, and I had not really seen that before. And then for each of the outdoor spaces, I kind of gave them a unique space there as well. So this, I just gave it a nice little seating space, and so just a space for like the Sims to like hang out. I figured they probably all know each other and would hang out together, like since they live in this like little fairy village. And then on this one, I ended up just putting some planter boxes and a grill and a table so your Sims can hang out there as well. And then I end up actually on the other one, I split it in half and end up doing 1/2 for like painting, and then the other half I do for some like a flower arranging table. And I also put a chess table out on the blue balcony along with some lounge chairs as well. So each of the apartments has their own outdoor space, but I figured between like all 4 of them, they'd need to probably be in the same household anyways, so they can all use those different skill building activities, which I thought was a really nice way to actually introduce those, since there wasn't a lot of room inside of the actual apartments themselves. But I will say, I think the screenshots that were outside were some of my favorites, but like I said, when you watch the screenshots, let me know which one is your favorite. Like, do you like one of the fairies in particular, or just do you like one of their apartments? I don't know, I'm curious. I love so much of them that you're gonna have to let me know which one like you enjoyed the most. But like I said, I just wanted each of them to have their own like unique space. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And let me know down below if you have any ideas of other builds that you might want to see on the channel. I would love to read through those, and I hope you have a really sweet day. Bye everybody.